Born in the city of Sevastopol, the contract was signed from the camp of the city of Kerch on 3rd of April 2024.
Uh-huh. How old are you?
26.
26. So, what do you remember about life in occupied Crimea?
Remember that when Sevastopol was in Ukraine? Well, what changed in Sevastopol when it became Russia is that they began to build roads, houses, well, sort of improving the city.
Infrastructure was improving, right?
Yes.
Yeah, what about the beaches, about the vacationers? Has it become more or less?
But it's still the same. Well, when it was under Ukraine, it was much more. At least I lived in Sevastopol on the street of Heroes of Brest. There is a mega beach. There was always a crowd there in the summer, a lot.
It was fun, right?
Well, basically, yes. Nothing has changed.
So, much more happened on the Ukraine or nothing has changed?
Well, how to say... Fewer people started coming from Ukraine.
Yeah.
The rest is the same. There's a lot of people. They came in the summer.
I mean the total number.
Just the same.
Also, nothing has changed. Yeah. And, well, did you do something? You studied there, right?
I studied. I'm the pastry chef.
Uh-huh.
Third
Yeah.
class. I used to play football for 8 years. This happened in Ukraine. In 2014, I gave up football due to a leg injury.
Uh-huh. Understood. And then your story?
After that, back in 2020, I went to enroll in diving school. Served there for a short time. Got it. Well, I studied there in the School of Divers 5.5 months. Got on the ship BDC Azov. Airborne Assault, that one ship.
Uh-huh.
Signed a contract as a cook.
So?
I was a cook, then I went on leave. I was transferred to the 810th unit.
Uh-huh.
Marine Corps. They didn't say why. I was transferred and was in the Air Assault Battalion, Marine Corps.
What year has it already been?
This is already 2021. No, 2022.
Year 22. What's next?
I got caught. I was in Berdyansk at the very beginning of the special operation when everything started.
So, and what's in Berdyansk? Do you remember how you went to Berdyansk?
Yes, I remember.
How was it?
We got from the ship. We patrolled to Ukraine, from Ukraine to the Crimean bridge. We patrolled like this for a week. After this, on the 23rd of February 2022, at night at 2 o'clock, this is already on the 24th.
Uh-huh.
The siren sounded and nobody told us anything. We left Berdyansk. That is, from the ship we got onto a boat. From the boat we got into this very on land. And we patrolled there for a week. We got to near Mariupol and came back.
No, just wait. Patrol it. You probably crossed paths with local residents.
No, there were no residents.
Were you in an open field?
Well, how? When we left the sea from Berdyansk, there we were in some settlements. I don't know the name of the settlement. It was destroyed. That is, we rode an APC there for a week.
Yeah.
We ride and they took us.
So you rode an
Yes.
APC?
Well, how was reconnaissance? Well, how the initial special operation was, but they didn't tell us about it. That's where we were going to go.
So you went but didn't know why?
Yes.
What did the commanders tell you?
Well, they didn't say anything. They just said we're going to Ukraine.
Yeah, why?
They didn't say. We were not told at all that a special operation had begun and
Have you
so
not
on.
communicated? Have you tried to find this information for yourself?
No, I didn't try.
The answers to the questions?
No. When I returned, I later refused the contract and terminated it. When we returned to Jankoy, we ended up in the village of Novozorny.
Yeah.
We are there. We return here to straighten the squad. There are over 200 people there who abandoned the special operation.
And what happened to them?
Nothing. They intimated that they will imprison us and so on.
But you weren't among those
I
200
was.
people.
I also refused the special operation.
Why?
Because I initially signed the contract as a cook. That is, on a ship as a cook.
Okay.
Well, I was prepared both morally and physically for the fact that I was now in the Marine Corps. That is, I don't want to fight.
Okay.
Well, I signed the contract purely because my hometown paid a salary for 43,000 rubles a month. If you also go to see, it was 65,000.
Okay.
And I signed because of this too.
Well, you worked here, job was like this.
Yes.
But you didn't want to fight.
No. That's why I refused.
At what point did you realize that you would have to fight?
When we go back to Novoazorne, a man came there. Major general, sort of. Yes. Well, a big fish came and said that this special operation was starting and everyone should go to war and so on. Nobody told us anything about this, they only said when he arrived. And then when we refused, they scared us that they would imprison us and so on. Well, we refused and we stood our ground to the end.
200 people?
Yes.
From how many?
From about 1,000.
Out of 1,000. So... And what happened next? What was the reaction for your refusal?
Well, they tried to persuade us to return to duty.
And you stood your ground and didn't return?
Yes.
What's next?
We then stayed there until the end. Within a week, those who did not refuse had preparation. They were out there shooting and so on, and we were sitting in buildings, in rooms. They wouldn't let us out.
Yes, So what next?
This means that on March 3rd, 2022, they already started getting ready to leave for Ukraine, but we stayed.
So you have already been to Ukraine?
No, Novoazorne is not Ukraine.
What is this?
Well, Jankoy. From Jankoy, Novoazorne is not Ukraine. Well, this is already in Russian somewhere.
Is this what you think?
Well, it is considered Ukraine. In general, it is considered to be Ukraine.
You mean that this is Crimea?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we are, there...
So, in Berdyansk, I didn't understand where you had disappeared.
We were in Berdyansk, patrolling there for a week. We came back. Then we were near Mariupol. From Mariupol, near Mariupol, we spent the night at the autodrome.
You haven't communicated with anyone, nothing?
At all.
Just arrived there?
We didn't see anyone, nothing.
Do you think the people in Mariupol, in Berdyansk, were happy that you came there in APC?
Don't know, I don't think so.
Why?
It's just... someone, as I found out later, after some time I found out that the civilians of Berdyansk asked Russia to come to the aid of Berdyansk.
Help from what?
Well, from what's coming, well, that they're shooting at the boat from this in Lugansk and Donetsk.
And Berdyansk here and...
Well, this is Donetsk, right? How do I know? No? Well... They're how...
It's not even close.
Well, the rumor has it that supposedly civilians asked for help.
Well, did you believe it?
No.
You didn't believe it. Well, thanks God, at least you didn't believe it. What happened next?
We spent the night near Mariupol in under this very, as I said, we spent the night and were sent back to Jankoy by our superiors. So we took an APC on the same road to Jankoy. We returned there from Jankoy. We went to Novoazorne. There is some part there. Here, we stayed there over the course of 2 weeks. The squads came to be straightened, new soldiers arrived, and to return back to Ukraine. We 200 people went and refused. We stayed there. They left on March 2nd, 3rd, and we stayed. And after a day, we cleaned up the place, the building. I mean, what would be there? Well, garbage and so on. We collected everything, made it clean, and a truck came to pick up us and took us all back to Sevastopol. I stayed in the unit. Well, I returned to the unit. They let me go home from the unit, and I did some bad thing there and ended up at, they say, at this very... I was put on trial later.
So you refused? There were no legal consequences?
There wasn't.
No one cared? They
There
just
wasn't
took
at
you
all.
away and that's it? What
Yes.
were you doing there?
I knew a girl from 12 years.
Yeah.
I had drunk too much because I came back alive and, well, from Ukraine. And I started preparing here.
So you were locked up for rape.
Well, violent acts of a sexual nature.
And for how long? That is, was it really rape?
No, there was no one there at all. Well, I was drunk, that is, I just started pestering her and that's all. And she hit me and then I wanted to go back, but I was drunk and went to bed because I needed to go to the unit.
That is, there was no contact as such?
No.
Did you get hit
Well,
up?
yes.
And they imprisoned you
Yeah.
for this?
Because of the statement. So she wrote the statement when she was drunk, and when she was sober, she said she wanted to take it back. They say that this application will not be taken away.
That there was something between you before? No,
well,
you're back.
well, we're good friends.
Ah, so this is a girlfriend, not a girl.
Well, no, not a girl, no.
Got it. I understand it happens, maybe.
Well, because of this and roughly speaking, when I was already in prison and I had, roughly speaking, one chance to get out of the camp, it's considered a madhouse.
How old were you given?
3.5.
Not much.
This period goes from 3 to 6, it
I
is
understand.
considered.
The point is that maybe it would be better to serve the 3.5 years?
Well, maybe. For some people it's better, for some it's not. Well, for me at the moment I'm not better. Because also there was no supervision, but in a sense how my future life will turn out.
What if you were killed?
If they killed me, they killed. I thought I was going for it because I was ready for this.
Did you understand?
Sure.
Where are you going?
Sure.
What are you after? What do you think, from a moral point of view, kill a man
I didn't kill anyone.
to avoid 3.5 years of imprisonment?
Well, how am I...
What the score?
Before I signed the contract, I had, as they say, motive to get injured. How I was going to my death, but I thought I would at least get wounded to somehow try to get out of this hole. In short, I wanted to get freedom. I got
If
it.
I understand you correctly, you weren't going to shoot anyone, you were going to get hurt.
Yes, I got it.
So the Nazis maybe Bandera?
No,
No NATO members?
no.
Well, they say on TV that you are at war with the Nazis, Banderites and NATO members, you name it.
Ordinary Ukrainian military personnel.
Ordinary military personnel. Well, you see the cause and effect relationship between the occupation of Crimea, between the annexation of Crimea and the fact that you, let's just say, barely survived.
Well, to be honest, I want this whole war to end. I want peace.
No.
Well, as it is.
For world peace, that we understand. We understand that, especially when you're already a prisoner of war. The closer a man gets to death or captivity, the more he wants peace.
No, it's just...
I'm talking about cause and effect. Do you understand what cause and effect is?
No, I don't
There
quite
are
understand.
causes and there are effects.
Consequences.
And consequences. Consequences. Here we go. Russia comes in, occupies and annexes Crimea. They built you a couple of buildings, a couple...
Roads.
expensive at the same time as I know several beaches were taken over for military purposes. Quite, well, not even a few, but a lot. But I don't want to wrap up this whole story here right now. It's simple. They built a couple of buildings and a couple of roads for you.
Well, they're...
And yes, Ukraine, by the way, is also built quite a bit, well, if you look at it right. And in the process, it could be also built. That is, there are not mutually exclusive things. If Russia built it, this does not mean that Ukraine would not have built it. That's not the point. No point. That's not the point. Now Russia comes in, annexes Crimea. All this happening, right? And then you find yourself in war. And you barely survive. Well, he barely survived.
Well, yes.
You can say this.
You know, I get it, yeah.
Or am I wrong? Or did you have a 100% chances of
No,
surviving?
Not 100% if I'm already in captivity.
Here you go. That is, if something went wrong somewhere, could you actually be in the shoes of any of the people you were with who died?
Well, yes.
Right? Right. So I could...
God saved me like that.
So, well, I don't know who is there. I know that the statement that you barely survived is true.
Well, yes, I agree.
It's natural here. So, here it is. Russia is coming, they have occupied Crimea, Crimea occupies, and now you find yourself in a war where you barely survived. Do you see a connection between these two phenomena?
No, I don't see it.
Don't you see? Do you see? Anyone, is there a connection between these two
Violence
phenomena?
begets violence. More violence only increases the amount of violence, and it can't be any other way.
This is a common philosophical phrase. What if you give more specifics?
Well, Ukraine couldn't just leave it like that. The consequences were inevitable. Well, first of all, I think that this is not a war going on, but simply a cleaning of the people. This is purely my personal opinion, that this is a small... Well, I couldn't just end like that. Well, Russia came in. Well, Crimea has become...
Aggression.
Aggression breeds response.
The point here is not even the response to Crimea specifically. The point is that the aggression did not stop at Crimea alone. Further was Crimea. Almost at the same time there was Donbass. Well, if you don't know, Russia has been there since 2014.
In the know.
This, and then the aggression continued. It escalated into full-scale aggression.
Well, yes.
So there is a connection between the beginning of Russian aggression and the fact that you ended up here, because Crimea is just the beginning of Russian aggression.
Well, yes, when they took away, well, not took away, but Crimea became, this is very, well, as it is considered now. Well, if you mean that the beginning was supposedly made, relatively speaking, in 2014, and there was 13, some kind of psychological preparation of the mass of people who...
Including this.
And then you can sculpt whatever you want with this mass. And in the end, as if you're reaping the fruits of what was hammered into your head, then there are no questions here.
In other words, if Russia had not entered Crimea in 2015, those are the people who maybe the Crimeans mobilized in 2022, or by some other method they forced them to sign a contract, or led the signing a contract. These people wouldn't all have died.
Well, yes.
Understand?
Yes, sure. Well...
So I have a question for you. Was it worse? Were this beautiful road that they made for you worth at least one human life?
It wasn't worth it. It wasn't even worth a drop of blood. We should not have started this in general, and since 2014 we did everything go this way.
Really? Everyone seemed to go to Crimea.
Yes,
Everyone
of course, I have also talked to people here with Ukrainian civilians, well, servicemen to be more precise. When I arrived here, they were in 2012, 2013, and everyone said that the beautiful city is Sevastopol.
Yes.
A lot of people came there. When I say that I was from Sevastopol, they felt kind of disgusted and at the same time kind of sorry for me.
Yes.
But something else is scary. After all, we were mostly presented with the fact that, well, I was not born in Ukraine. I have never been to Ukraine in my life, but...
Born in Russia.
Born in Russia.
Why born in Russia and not born in Ukraine? Well, you say I was not born in Ukraine, right?
Oh, I wasn't born. I never been to Ukraine.
Oh.
I have never traveled around Ukraine, never. My life has never been connected with Ukraine. Yes, of course, all of us who live in Russia have relatives. They are present on both sides. We talk to each other, but we don't visit. But at least I've never had that in my life. But when all these events began, and part of the Ukrainian people, again from hearsay, well, as it were, they declared their will that they want to be with Russia. We were all told that there is support, there are all the people for you. You guys just go ahead. But in fact, when we arrived, we were told, don't walk an extra meter here, be quiet, walk quietly and don't think about the fact that...
They come on telling you.
Yes, we've been told by an officer that there's no support, no positive encouragement, there's nothing, people are just tired. How long can you hide and hide? How could here possibly be some individuals who will who were impatient wanted this, but this is not the majority.
Individuals. You know, I don't want to provide political information, but now Ukrainian troops have entered the Kursk region. There are plenty of individuals there who have already realized that we are not their enemies, who have already realized that Russia began shelling this Kursk region after we entered, sparing no one. And they are completely ready to enter Ukraine, that is, they are ready for referendum. All I need now is just to come there, take such a box, and ask these people to come up and throw these pieces of paper in there. Here you will have the same thing that happened.
Also, everyone from the front line whom you interview, each of them will also tell you particularly that it was their own people who bombed.
Many people say, only not many people, unfortunately, hear this from the Russian side. You also have YouTube blocked. Also, not everywhere. Now, let's ask around. Don't forget to remind me that I would ask yours has already been answered. Well, call you now. No problem here. Well, this was an interesting thought. Regarding this war is not for something, but for the sake of extermination of the people.
Well, that's pretty much it, because at least, as I see everyone sending exactly the servicemen of the Russian nation forward,
Okay.
and no retreats, even wounds when wounded, only forward. There are no orders to retreat, and just forward, and that's it.
That is...
Well, this is a purge of
Why?
the people.
For what?
For example...
Let's
why did
take
they
turns.
even start, for example, taking people from prisons, the same prisoners,
Okay.
rugly speaking, for what? Well, firstly, there are a lot of drug addicts. There are people who go to prison,
The version does not pass because it is not only prisoners who are taken away. The prisoners are most likely taken away because there are not enough others.
well, this is purge in progress. It's being clean in terms
So what
of
about
what
the
is...
others? Okay, prisoners, all drug addicts. They
There
don't...
are some military personnel who sign contracts and are serving, it's true. And there are mobilized ones. They have nothing to do with it
Yes,
at all. They
yes.
don't need it. This is not correct.
You work in Moscow.
Yes.
Did you really want to fight?
At that moment when I was mobilized, I decided for myself that, well, after watching all these videos, I realized that this was not my war. This is not a war at all. It's some kind of...
Were you mobilized or did you sign a contract? Mobilized. Look, you see, here is a real example. Why clean it?
Of course, why?
What are the reasons for this?
None.
So what is this cleaning?
The list included, as they say, rugly speaking,
Got on the list. There is a Schindler list and you have Putin's list, right?
it
That
turns out.
list. Well, why does Putin, who organized this, he announced the so-called special operation, why does he need to clean you?
Well, I don't think it's just the beginning. I think it's all a project.
Whose?
The whole world, rugly speaking, this is a project. This is a project in progress. Well, if... to clean the people, there was coronavirus.
No, wait, let's talk.
Well, it seems to me that the point here is not some kind of cleaning or self-cleaning. The only question is that the moment has come when the management, it has become, well, that it is vitally necessary to show some kind of definite political, geopolitical
The
will.
government.
Well, yes, including those people who were in charge, in power.
So,
And in order, of course, to raise their certain fallen rating, confidence in certain internal problems, so that something is forgotten, it's always worked.
distract from internal problems.
Always, yes, the same. We need a small victorious war. Has worked. Fast, quick, and necessarily with a positive effect.
1. Everyone rejoices.
Yes,
Everyone
at
walks
that
around
moment I
shouting.
don't know whose failure it was, and I'll never know about it, but when all this mess started brewing, no one expected it at all. I honestly swear to you, I thought it was a maximum of 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
They were shouting on TV for about 3 days. Well, yes, let's say
Well, 3 weeks, I just figured...
on your TV.
Yeah, it was on our TV. I didn't watch TV, but it doesn't matter. They say 3 weeks. Well, there's 3 days.
Well, you don't have to watch TV. You can see clips for some of these statements.
Yes, that's right. Chats when we realized that it wouldn't work out in 3 weeks because there are exactly the same people who also have will, character, strange, and the will on life, no one could admit that they had made an irreparable mistake and move away.
So?
And he went all the way, and there is no question of cleaning or not cleaning the nation. It is a question, as they say, of political pride. Well, that is, you can't show everyone that you did something stupid. You either have to bring the matter to an end and then deal with the fact, or there was nothing to start with. If you started, well, it's like you have nowhere to go. I drove myself into the corner in which I found myself, and it was very noticeable, especially in the first 6 months of fighting, and there was a certain split in our society, because people who, well, those who had a certain kind of mental influence, who were interesting, who had a lot of, I don't know, followers, fans, followers, well, they kind of broke away. That is, there were some real problems with the head. You know, the tank was leaking. Well, for those who put stickers on cars, everything was in some kind of paraphernalia and hooray patriots, and that's all. But there weren't many of them. But
And
they
it
were.
still is.
There were also those who sat down and started to think about it, some things to compare, to think about, because, well, you can't take sources of information only from one side. Yes, both there are lies, and on this side there are lies, but somewhere in the middle there is always truth.
Well, how can I tell you? It's a lie. I don't know what kind of lie this is. You have invaded our territory. We are talking about it.
In the lighting, in covering events, there are lies that are undeniable.
It was.
Yes, there was an invasion.
I guess that's where we should start.
Yes, but when you lie in small words, then it will be difficult for you to believe in big ones.
Why did we lie to you?
I don't know. Do I have anything to compare with?
It's clear.
I know what we lied about.
So, and, tell me, what was it like? When were you mobilized?
32nd September 20th September 2022.
2022.
That's right. They issued a summons here. I came to the military registration and enlistment office. On September 19th, they put a stamp saying that an order had been issued, and on the 22nd, he came and was immediately taken to the unit. I stayed in the unit for 4 days, and they were taken by train to the Belgorod region,
Okay.
to Nikitovka.
Okay.
We stayed there for a week, maybe longer. Me sent
Keep it under the table.
to Mulino. Mulino is the Nizhny Novgorod region. And from Mulino already to Belarus for training.
Get to the point.
Closer to the point. On January 16th, we stopped in the Tishkovka, and somewhere on the 19th, we were already in Nizhny Duvanka, Lugansk region.
Okay.
And from that moment on, we went on missions to the village of Kuzyomovka, Novoselovka. Novoselovsk. There. Well, we didn't engage in hostilities there. We just had observation posts here. I was wounded there once. I was in Russia. Then I was on vacation. And when I came back from vacation just in January, we were immediately transferred to the village of Kuzyomovka.
Okay.
We stayed there until August, and in August some offensive actions already began. We were transferred to the direction of Peshchane, Kharkov region.
Okay.
We spent a month there somewhere. We were returned back, and they transferred it to the village of Berestove, Kharkov region.
Okay.
And I was there at the observation post for 3 days, after which my colleagues came and said that an order had been received from the command. I was necessary to cross the open field into this in the forest belt, take a position here, and in the morning they will tell us everything about what to do here. We ran across the forest belt, and attack aircraft met us there. We jumped into the dugout. The shelling began. Baba Yaga drone there threw an incendiary shell. The dugout began to burn. So I sort of ran out, and I wanted to divert attention so that she would fly after me and the guys would run out too and put out the fire. I ran along the forest belt. I was also begin shelled there. Conquest here. At the same time, they told me that the entire forest belt was ours. But there, after 500 meters as I ran, it turned out that there were Ukrainian troops there. That's how I was captured.
And for all this, well, how? You ran out to the meeting or what?
Well, they explained it to us that when we ran across this entire forest belt, all of this is ours. There is supposedly no Ukrainian military there. But we were deceived, and I didn't even meet our military there.
How many people did you see killed around you during this time?
Yes, a lot. Enough. Especially in the forest belts, when they walked there, they stormed. Yes, there is simply no evacuation.
Are the bodies still there?
No, if the direction moves, then little by little everything is removed. Both weapons and bodies, they take everything away. Well, there is no such thing as leaving it at first, yes, all this...
At first. It depends on which direction, where and how.
Yes, but I can speak for myself.
But in general, there are a lot of dead.
There's a lot left, yes.
Quite a lot. Hundreds, thousands, the ones you saw.
What I saw were dozens.
No, these are dozens who died.
Yes.
And I'm talking about those whom you saw who were already lying dead.
Well, so I can't say.
Okay, that's not the point. Not the point. What do you think about Putin? Question.
About Putin?
Yes. Here's
What
a
can I
question
think
for
about
all
him?
three.
Well, this is a president of Russia.
Okay.
This is his position. That is, he was chosen by the people, and that is, I was mobilized. I had nothing to do with the state, but it turned out this way. Some kind of partial mobilization has begun. Partial, and I was 38 years old at that time. Also, I was supposed to go until I was 35. This is...
You've gone too far. What do you think?
Well, I already said it. I think this is a cleansing of the people. I can't say anything like that about Putin. The president is the president. I would be like that for everyone. At this point, every person would have such decisions. He just signed the papers. I think so.
Do you think he only signs papers?
Well, I think...
Does someone make
yes.
decisions for him? Who are
Well-
these people? Or maybe there are some kind of reptilians
Well,
there.
I don't know.
Well, not the aliens
seriously.
taking it.
Well, I think he just signed the papers.
Okay, what do you think?
Well, if... Don't go too far into thoughts.
No, don't.
If we are closer to some specifics, then... Well, I think that he is quite a strong-willed and strong
Okay.
person. Like every person, he tends to makes mistakes. I don't know. Do some positive things, I don't know, as well as negative things. Well, in general, he unleashed, well, sort of started these hostilities and both enormous grief of every family, both on this and on this side of the border. None of us knows what the consequences will be after this.
Why do you need consequences? Don't you already see the number of deaths at the moment? Aren't these still consequences?
That is just the beginning.
Well, so what? What epithets can be used to describe him? Well, for example, we say that he is a scoundrel, quite a lot time ago.
Well, I think this simplifies things a lot.
Fine, let's not simplify things. Let's.
I think that when they speak about a person with insults, so it's just, based on emotions. When you turn on your head a little and some, you understand that every president cares. Well, he has a responsibility to take care of his people. So the beginning of the so-called special operation, is it guardianship for the homeland? Well, that's what it turns out to be, but this is a very distorted, twisted, thick concern. About the future, about future generations. How would we all this presented to us in such a way that, by giving your life, you give life for the next generations? That is, each of us, you're a citizen of your country. Your task is to be useful to your country. Because of this usefulness, you will commit a war crime against another country and bring great grief to a foreign people. It's like, these are philosophical things. They cannot be calculated or traced in any way. This is everyone's moral choice. Humanly speaking, I believe that not a single drop of blood is worth anything. There is nothing more valuable than human life. Whose it is.
Okay.
But when they try to talk to us about some kind of geopolitics, they say that we need to somehow wake up and oppose ourselves to some kind of, Western influence and everything else. Well, what were you thinking about before? Why? Why didn't you try to negotiate before? Why? There are words, there are diplomatic channels and a lot of other options before unshedding your weapons and starting shooting at each other. I still can't figure out where it is point of no return. Where did it go so that after that it was necessary to begin hostilities? That is, there was some kind of Rubicon that everyone summonly missed. How did it turn out that a huge nation simply, at a certain moment, left itself no choice? Everyone asks us, why did you come here? Why did you come here? Most of us are sane and most of us are say it honestly. For example, I didn't go to Ukraine at all. That is, we were told that we were going to Bryansk or Belgorod. In fact, we literally, before the arrival, thought Voronezh, we already find out that we are already moving towards Lugansk. And when we generally find ourselves in the center of events, literally less than a week has passed. And there is no way to go back, because you are under oath. You took an oath. And how maybe
he
for
took
some
the
it
oath
is...
and refused.
You can't.
Why?
Well, it's like promising and not delivering. Well, that is, if everyone acts like this, then the weight of promises will be reset to zero.
You say that you did not know that you would go to Ukraine. You didn't promise anyone. You didn't sign that you would go kill someone or fight.
No.
So why can't you refuse when you've been deceived?
Well, because you are in the status of a military man. You are the person who took the military oath. And when they tell you that you need to move there, you say, so you deceived me.
Okay.
And in response, they say to you, okay, that's it, I'm sorry, brother. Brother, it's like you took an oath. Now you don't decide, they decide for you. Whatever they tell you, that's where you'll go.